Episode 84 of the Swampflix podcast. My name is Brandon Leday.
And I'm Britnee Lombas.
And we are recording in Britnee's apartment in Pigeontown, New Orleans. And this is the podcast version of the movie review website Swampflix.
Yes, it is.
Britnee, last week we talked about everything we saw at the Overlook Film Festival, me and Cece.
Yeah.
So I've been sort of out of it with like new movies, but I've been trying to catch up. What have you been watching lately?
No. Well, actually, I have seen one new movie, which I'll talk about, but I want to talk about the really crappy movie I saw first from 2002. It's called Slap Her, She's French.
I can't decide if I hate that or love it.
Well, that's why I chose to watch it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm down with this or not. It's also known as She Gets What She Wants.
Still.
It's just getting worse.
It's like one word off from like She Gets What She Deserves, which is horrible. But I kind of like the provocative twist on that.
It's like a teeny bopper pop movie from the early 2000s. It's like a very, very cheap Mean Girls in a way. It's essentially about this girl named Starla, and she's a pageant queen, head cheerleader, Katie Couric wannabe from this really small town in Texas. Like she's like, I want to be a news anchor woman when I grow up.
Isn't that the exact plot of Drop Dead Gorgeous?
Oh my God.
Right?
When was Drop Dead Gorgeous?
99?
Okay, well, I guess more of a cheap Drop Dead Gorgeous than Mean Girls. Well, it's got that quirky humor, but it's not good enough to laugh at. Where during a pageant, she's like, I just have to say something about loving Jesus and I'm gonna win for the question, and someone gets that question, and then when it comes to be her turn to speak, someone already took the Jesus one. She's kind of like, my family is gonna host the first French exchange student in our small town, and everybody starts clapping and she like wins, and they're like, God, she's good. It's like stupid stuff like that where you're like, eh. Anyways, so that's what happens. Her family hosts a foreign exchange student from Paris named Genevieve. And Genevieve is like very stereotypical Alloy magazine French girl with like the plaid skirt, the beret, the glasses. And she slowly, like, she comes off as like really shy and like, oh, I don't speak much English and I love France. Well, she starts to like single white female Starla.
Ooh.
Where she starts to like get her parents to love her. Like she goes hunting with Starla's dad, and she's like, he's like, oh, you're the daughter I never had. And she starts to mac on Starla's boyfriend, and she kind of plays dumb where like Starla's failing French class and she'll be kicked off the cheerleading squad unless she passes. So she gets Genevieve to help her, and Genevieve like gets her to say all this crazy shit in French, like
sabotages her.
Yeah, like she goes up to her teacher and tells him something, and it's essentially like, I have a mouth like 10 fingers or something.
Oh, gross.
Like just weird shit like that. Well, you eventually find out that Starla isn't French. She's a Texan girl who pretends to be French so that she could get back at Starla for fucking up her pageant run like a million years ago. That's it. It's okay. There's a Black Eyed Peas song that plays over and over and over and over
now
again.
I'm sold.
Yeah, so that was cool. Other than that, yeah, it was stupid.
Well, Drop Dead Gorgeous turns like 20 years old in the next month.
Fucking gem.
So just watch that instead.
Yeah, watch that. This is kind of like if they had $5 bins in the in the early 2000s at Walmart that are like knockoffs of like really good movies, this would be that.
It's like a mockbuster of a film that didn't even do that well in the first place.
Exactly. So yeah, that was aight. And the other film that I watched recently that is a recent movie is The Perfection.
Oh, I wanted to see that.
You would like it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It stars Allison Williams, and she hasn't played in a lot. Like, she was big in Girls, she was in Get Out, but she really hasn't been in a lot of films. Like, I think her career is just kind of starting up, but she's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah.
And she's really good in here. So in this movie, she plays a girl named Charlotte who has this really awesome talent at playing the cello. And she went to this very prestigious school called Bachoff. I can't pronounce it. Well, anyways, she goes to this prestigious music school. And her mother falls ill. and she leaves to go take care of her mother as her mother's like dying. So she leaves the school and she's like this prodigy of the cello. Well, her mom dies and like some time passes, and then she reaches back out to the owners of that school, and they invite her to go to Shanghai with them, where they're scouting out like talent. And the person who sort of replaced her at the school, her name's Lizzie. Well, they come like face to face. So there's like some weird tension where you're like, oh, that's totally this chick's replacement. Does she hate her? Does she not? And they start to like talk, and Lizzie's a big fan of hers. And they go clubbing and they make out and they have sex a bunch. And
oh man, I really don't want you to give away too many twists here too, because it's a really twisty movie.
It's so twisty. I'm gonna go up to this point because it shows up on like the Netflix previews. Okay. So you can't really avoid it.
Fair enough.
But Lizzie gets sick and she gets some ibuprofen from Charlotte, and she just like progressively gets worse. Like she's taking this medicine and it's not making her get better. And like she pukes up and there's like fucking little demonic looking bugs in her vomit. And there's like bugs all crawling under her arm skin, and it's on her hand that she plays the cello with. So then she might have to do something to her hand to get the bugs out. Yeah, it gets twisty after that. But essentially it's like this cult. I've been saying essentially so much. I don't know what's going on with
me. You're just trying to get to the heart of it, you know?
I've been saying that a lot in like the training classes I've been teaching.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
Essentially this is blah, blah, blah. And it's like transferring into like my normal day talk. I hate it.
But think about how much time you're saving everyone by getting to what's essential.
Essential. It's not really. Nothing's essential about it. So many twists. Anyway, the school, this like prestigious music school, it's kind of like this cult where they do certain fucked up shit. And I'm not going to talk about it, but yeah, it's a twist of a twist of a twist of a twist.
Yeah.
A twist on top.
We pick out these like episode topics like a month in advance. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I went the way we did this week, because I really liked all the movies we watched. But I wanted to do a perfection episode. And I was like, what are some good topics? Like, should we do like a cult thing about bugs, or should we... This is like a month ago, so I don't even know that much about the movie. I was just going on like the promo materials for it. And I was also thinking of those like movies like Opera and Grand Piano, those like trashy thrillers that are like set in these like opulent music environments.
Or Black Swan could go with this too. Yeah. It was very Black Swan. And it's perfect for Pride Month because it's centered around a lesbian romance, which is really cool.
Occultist horror.
It's great.
I want this so bad.
It's really good. I can see why a lot of people kind of said some weird shit about it. Like people are like, oh yeah, it's stupid. I didn't like it. I didn't get it. And immediately I gravitated towards it and I really enjoyed it. And I think you would too. I think all of the Swampflix peeps would like it.
This sounds like very over the top and excessive in the way that we like.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Cool. That's pretty much the worst of what I've been watching and the best of what I've recently watched. So I like to kind of
balance
do that.
It out.
Mm-hmm. What have you been watching, Brandon?
Well, like Overlook really did take over like a week's worth of like movie watching for me.
Got taken over by Overlook?
Yeah, I mean, we watched 10 features there. We did a whole podcast episode on those, and then I wrote 10 movie reviews based on those. So that was a lot of effort and time. And I've been catching up in the last few days just of stuff I've been meaning to watch. And usually when I come in here, I have some kind of theme to like, I have a lot to pick from. So today, I'm just going to say the 2 movies I watched yesterday, just to like, get to the heart of it. I went to the theater and saw Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Hell yeah.
The reason I was interested in this was that it was directed by Michael Dougherty, who directed Krampus and
cool.
Trick or Treat. You remember that horror anthology about like the candy?
Love it.
Yeah.
Probably the best like recent horror movie that's been made in a very long time. Like a more
horror
modern
anthology.
day one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's a really good one. And this is probably his worst movie if you're going by those 3.
Oh, no.
But I will say I enjoyed it more than its other films in the series. Like, this is a sequel to Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla.
I like
which
that one.
I thought it was so boring.
I enjoyed it.
The human characters and like the gloominess of it and how serious it is, I just found it kind of boring. And then it's also tied in to the Kong Skull Island movie a couple years ago, and I didn't like that one either.
Is that the movie? I think I might have walked into it on like TV at someone's house, but there's like a giant spider on an island that's poking.
That sounds like the Peter Jackson one from 2005.
Is it a King Kong thing?
Yeah. This one
Wait, there's multiple ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's like from a couple years ago, and it's kind of like this Vietnam War movie, but it's also a comedy. It's got John C. Reilly in it. It's very jokey.
Oh my god.
And it's got these like short bursts of monster action. So like the monster action's kind of cool in it, but you don't see these like really prolonged scenes of it. It's like very quick glimpses.
Gotcha.
So this is a sequel to 2 movies I didn't like.
Wow.
But I think it's better than both of them. I think it like kind of meets them in the middle. Like it's got these long prolonged periods of kaiju action. It kind of reminds me of like
Love
Pokemon. Like it's trying to collect all the Godzilla monsters. There's like dozens of like famous giant monsters in this movie, and they all do battle for like long periods of time.
Is Mothra in it?
Mothra's in it,
Mothra.
and she's great. She gets to flap her beautiful wings,
Yeah.
and she gets to do some vicious fighting.
I'm
attacks.
glad there's a lot of kaiju shit going on. That's
Yeah.
the main reason I watch Godzilla. So
Oh, for sure.
I don't care about the plot line. I don't care about the people. If he has to kill them, so be it.
This has a little bit of the gloomy like family drama stuff
Yeah.
from that Gareth Edwards Godzilla, but it doesn't matter as much because so much of the movie is just monsters fighting like for minutes and minutes on end that who gives a shit. Like you're saying, I was here for that,
Right.
and it gave me plenty of it, so I was fine. It's not like a great film, and like I said, it's probably my least favorite Michael Dougherty movie, but there's been a lot of complaining about how it's awful, and I think that's kind of stupid. Like if you like Godzilla, what you like is watching these monsters fight. It's never going to be as charming as it was when it was 2 people in rubber suits on these like miniature sets. Like it's not as good as those.
Right,
but
we can't go back to that ever.
I wish we could, but people would complain about that too,
They
being
bitch about
silly.
it. People complain about fucking everything.
Oh yeah,
I hate it.
Welcome to the internet. But I liked this; it was fun, and Ghidorah gets a lot of screen time.
Cool.
It's this 3-headed dragon that breathes electricity beams.
That's probably so cool to see in theaters.
It's fucking metal. Like every time he, gathers
You just
lightning
hear
from
a
the
guitar shredding in the
Oh
background.
yeah, it's like those 80s album covers.
Yes. What's the name of that big trash heap monster?
That is my favorite Godzilla movie.
Is he in?
No, I wish.
No trash monster.
That's Hedorah.
Hedorah.
One of the English translations is Godzilla versus the Trash Monster, but the DVD I have is Godzilla versus Hedorah, and that's easily my favorite Godzilla movie. It's got everything.
It's a good one. You made me watch that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. That's why I was curious if they like revamped him for this this movie.
This isn't as campy or fun or vibrant or like
It's like
energizing.
no baby
as that
Godzilla.
one.
No trash monster.
No, it's still that gloomy Gareth Edwards one with so much more action and some jokes because Michael Dougherty has a sense of humor, which is why we like him. Like Krampus is a straight up comedy.
Oh, totally.
Even Trick or Treat has a lot of like humor to it.
Yeah. A lot of dark
this
humor.
is a little bit of jokes, a little bit of that. And it's got all these like famous people in it, so it's kind of amazing that it's not like a huge success. In the 90s, it would have made a lot of money, but now it's something that people complain about on the internet, and it's fine.
People are so obsessed with these fucking Marvel movies. They don't give credit when credit is due to the good shit.
I enjoyed it actually just about as much as Endgame, and I was there for an hour less, so it's got a 1-up on there.
Sold.
But let's talk about a movie I really liked that I watched yesterday called The Neon Demon, which was my favorite movie of 2016. And then I saw 20th Century Woman after. I'd probably put that above that one. But I love The Neon Demon. I hadn't really seen it in a couple years. It still is beautiful and like vicious and over the top and like grimy and sleazy. And like it's everything. It's a great film.
It's so like beautiful, but the grossest shit's happening and all this beauty. Because you watch that, you need to freaking watch Elizabeth Harvest because it kind of reminds me of
and
it a
Abby
little
Lee's
bit.
in both of them, huh?
Yeah, and she's in both. So
what I think is interesting about it right now is that everyone has the biggest hard-on for Keanu Reeves right now because of like John Wick, and he popped up in a Netflix rom-com last month.
I did watch that movie.
I watched it too.
Or Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
It was okay.
Really?
It was like a Fold Your Laundry kind of movie to me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was lit and shot and acted like a television commercial.
Well, Michelle Buteau is like one of my favorite like modern comedians, and she's pretty funny in there.
Is she the,
She's the pregnant
hippie
friend.
girlfriend? Oh no, she's a pregnant friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's so fucking funny. Her comedy is hilarious. She does a lot. I think she was on the Two Dope Queen show a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
She's really cool. So I liked watching her in that. But I liked it.
I will say that everybody is a little charming in it. Like I liked all the characters and the actors.
It's sweet.
But it looks like a commercial.
The best part of waking up. You want to hear that at like every
and
corner.
they go to like Burger King, and then the dad puts in that like Nest automated air condition controller and talks about its features for like a few minutes and like does the whole Ron Popeil like set it and forget it bit about it. Mm-hmm. And then later in the movie, this is what really pisses me off. Later in the movie, they're making out in their apartment next to the Nest control. And that is like the center of the frame as your focus is on this control on the wall that they've already advertised. And you think that what's going to happen is them like passionately making out, they're going to accidentally like readjust the temperature to some extreme, like either super hot or super cold. And it's going to be like a joke. And it's like, no, they just move on. So the whole point of it was just so that you think about it some more. So it's an ad.
All the jokes.
And then also they advertise for Netflix itself in the movie. Like they make some jokes about Netflix, but I don't know.
I actually watched it while I was folding clothes.
That's exactly what I did, and it was fine. Which means it's like a 3-star Netflix joint,
yeah.
You know?
It's a rom-com.
But Keanu Reeves was very funny in it.
Yes.
And he plays like a douchier version of himself. Mm-hmm. And I think what's interesting about the Neon Demon in this context is you don't really get to see him play like a full-on creep-ass villain in that many movies. In The Gift, he plays like an abusive husband.
Oh, yeah. And he's so good at it.
Oh, he's creepy as fuck.
I love that movie.
And in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, he gets to play the evil version of Ted. Mm-hmm. But in Neon Demon, he's like so sleazy and gross. He's this like evil motel owner who's like definitely a pedophile rapist. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, you don't have to see him doing that stuff, but he just oozes this like disgusting, villainous, like monstrosity out of like every line he delivers in the movie, and you just hate his fucking guts and you want to like murder him, which is nice because we're so used to seeing Keanu in this like same role over and over again. He plays this like lovable doofus, and even in Always Be On My Maybe, he's still kind of lovable even though he's like ridiculous.
He's just like a sweet douche. Have you watched the John Wick movies?
No. Okay. I saw the first one. It was fine.
I want to see them because there's a pit bull in them. And I didn't know.
Well,
and I like dogs. Does it die?
Yeah.
I thought he was like protecting it. Is this movie about him trying to save a dog that people are trying to kill? I don't know what it's about. I didn't look up anything. I've just seen the
So it's been years since I've seen the first one. What I remember is that his dog is murdered in the first movie. And he's like avenging his dog's death.
Really?
But maybe he adopts a pit bull after that in the second one. I didn't get that far. I thought it was fine.
There was a dog like my dog, so I'm like, I feel very passionate about this film.
The other ones look like they go really over the top, so maybe I'd enjoy them more.
Okay, cool.
It came out around the same time as The Guest, and I was way more into that.
I like that. I feel like I could like understand somebody avenging the death of their dog versus like one of their loved ones more.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
I think that was like him expressing his grief for his dead wife too, or something. I don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, many shades of Keanu Reeves in the world. Mm-hmm. He gets a lot of like flack for playing the same character over and over again. He's not really in the Neon Demon a bunch, but if you want to see him go full creep,
yes,
while also the rest of the movie being
he's got
really
a bold
good in its own
presence
right,
in it.
Yeah. Yep. He's very memorably disgusting and evil. And I kind of wish he did it more often. I don't have to love him all the time. Also, that movie just holds up. It's really good.
It's very good.
Well, today we're going to be talking about some other creepy, fun movies with a lot going on in them. And I love everything we watched today, so this is going to be a really giddy episode.
Me too. I'm excited.
We're talking about Psychobiddies.
My fucking favorite genre and my favorite thing ever.
I think I might be on the same page now. I don't know. This was a really good week. And we're going to be talking about some older Psychobiddy movies and one that's in the theater right now. So all that's coming up to you right now.
Don't make me drink alone. And I don't want to hear any of this. I have homework crap. Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone.
And now it's time for our Movie of the Minute. This is where hosts of the show bounce back and forth recommending films to each other. And it was my turn to pick what to watch this week. And I made you go out to the theater. And we saw Ma.
Yeah.
Starring Octavia Spencer.
Whew.
I think it's interesting right now that there's some kind of like Psychobiddy revival going on right now. Mm-hmm. I'd say the Isabelle Huppert movie Greta from earlier this year fits.
I haven't seen it yet, and I do want to see it.
Oh, you'd like it.
Okay.
And then also I told you about this movie on Lifetime called Psycho Granny.
Yeah.
Did you end up watching that?
Yeah, I caught it. I didn't sit for the whole thing, so I can't really talk too much about it, but it was funny. It was about just a psychobiddy who really wants to be a grandma.
Greta was Isabelle Huppert like force adopting and like making captive like a younger woman and like obsessing over her in this like creepy mother relationship.
That's totally what happens in that Psycho Grandma movie.
How would you like describe a psychobiddy? Like, what does that mean?
To me, it just means an unhinged, classy woman. Like, it's not like someone of, I don't know, like, I guess, like, if it was like a raunchy woman being crazy, I wouldn't consider that a psychobiddy. There's something about, like, these women who, like, don't come off as being crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're prim and proper, and then they just like have this really twisted thing inside them.
Well, the age part is definitely part of it, because biddy means that you're an old lady,
right?
And it's usually these old ladies that are unmarried, and they either want children or lost their children, or
they kill them.
Yeah, they want their children so that they can kill their children.
Like Shelley Winters, we could talk about those films forever too.
Or Debbie Reynolds and Who Slew Auntie Roo. Mm-hmm. The original Psychobiddy movie is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Yep.
And the success of that sort of spawned all these other like spin-off films.
Right.
This Octavia Spencer movie, Ma, it kind of fits in the genre, although Octavia Spencer is a little younger than the usual psychobiddy age.
I don't think you have to be old to be a psychobiddy. I think a lot of good psychobiddies just happen to be older. But if you say that to describe Ma, it's 100% accurate.
Yeah, everything else fits.
Yeah.
So Ma is this like lonely vet tech in this small town. It kind of feels like North Louisiana or something. It's like this very industrial nowhere town where the kids are so bored and all they want to do is drink and vape.
And a rock quarry.
Yeah, and a rock quarry.
Lame.
But they're, parents who never left this podunk town and have shitty jobs at like casinos and like veterinary hospitals, like they are always trying to stop the kids from drinking, even though when they were kids they drank at the same goddamn rock quarry.
Right.
So they're bumming outside a gas station and they ask this sort of unassuming lady played by Octavia Spencer with this hideous monkey's bowl cut.
I thought it made her look so young.
She looks like a page from like an episode of Wishbone. Like,
well, I think that helped her. Whenever like her crazy comes out, that haircut helps because it's like it makes her look even sweeter, more innocent. She
buys these teenagers liquor, and then eventually is like, "Hey, I don't think it's safe for y'all to drink at this rock quarry all the time. Why don't you come drink in my basement instead?" And these kids start drinking in her basement, and then she starts obsessing over them over social media.
Right, like Facebook stalking them. Like, what are they doing? Who are they? What are these pictures of them?
And meanwhile, we get flashbacks to her own youth and when she was bullied as like an outsider, and the cool kids used to drink at the quarry and make fun of her. And I don't want to give away what it is, but the kids are like bullied her in some really big traumatic way. And you could see that she's getting revenge on the kids now. And there's some creepy undertone to her, how she's like obsessing over them and re-involving their parents.
Right.
And this is a small community where everyone knows each other. So like the history of these kids' parents and like their own drinking mixes in with these young kids. And I feel like that tragic backstory is a lot of like psychobiddy structure as well. Like you need some sympathy for the old woman and like why she is murderous and broke her mind. So on one hand, you have Octavia Spencer is so good in this movie at switching from this very silly, fun person who wants to party and like hang out and dance with these children, and then she can turn it in a second to like this total creep mode where she becomes this murderous like Norman Bates type and is up to something big. And the movie eventually goes into these like torture porn segments and these like very over-the-top kills. And even when she kills people, she turns on a dime in that way too. Like she'll kill someone in this murderous way and then a second later will turn on the radio and dance to it. She's like completely
Hello Weekend. Or is that Here I Come?
Oh, it's a Look Out Weekend.
Look Out Weekend.
Here I come because weekends were made for fun.
Yes.
Debbie Deb sings that song.
Yeah.
And her other song sounds exactly the same. It's that song. It's like, when I hear music, it makes me dance.
Well, it's hard for me to pinpoint like what's going on in like Ma's head, where she kind of lures them by being like, I just want y'all to have a safe place to drink. Give me your keys. And at first you're like, oh, she's just lonely. And this is like filling some kind of void in her life. And then you find out like kind of her motive behind everything. But there are times where it's almost like she gets caught up in it and she like is legit having fun because it's reminding her like I'm finally the cool girl.
Right.
And then she like realizes like the point of her doing all this and partying with these kids, and she kind of catches herself from being like pulled into like having too much fun with them and getting to really like them.
And usually that evil side comes out when the kids refuse to come over. Like what Ma really wants is to party every single night and drink to the point of like blackout
with her like rhinestone cap.
And she like really parties. She like does the robot in the middle of the dance floor. Seemingly all the needle drops are like 80s songs, like Safety Dance and
there's like that Safety Dance scene where like something is happening where either someone's getting really drunk and they're realizing how creepy she is, and it's like S A F. That and the Funky Town song.
Oh, Funky Town for sure.
She gets down to that with her little rhinestone cap.
And then whenever the kids are like, no, I got to do homework tonight, or, I don't want to drink for the 8th day in a row.
Fucking loses it.
She loses it. And she starts like spam posting them on social media. And she like drops by at their high school to sort of bully them.
Leaving them like tons of Snapchats and putting beer by their car, and then like they're like, what is this? And they look in their Snap and she's like, I have a keg at the house, can't drink it all by myself.
Don't make me drink alone.
It's so great.
It's just this really fun tonal shift back and forth between just like a total creep and someone who just loves to party. And
Octavia's really hurt.
And Octavia Spencer sells it. One of my favorite scenes I've seen in any movie this year is her like evilly scrapbooking in the middle of the night while muttering the lyrics to Lookout Weekend. Let's so good.
Talk about that for a second. So in the theater, when that happened, whenever she's like cutting out all the pictures, making these like fucking psycho scrapbook pages, I laughed my ass off.
Oh, I started screaming.
And like the theater was silent, but everybody was laughing at the stuff that wasn't funny. And I'm like, this is funny, right?
I saw people laughing at her crying over her past, which I thought was ridiculous.
Yes. And I'm like, no,
that's actually sad. Stuff.
Yeah. And like what happened to her is like so sad. Like there are moments where she runs into people that were involved and I'm like, fucking kill them, Ma. Slit them fuckers' throats.
And she gets a few of them before the movie's over.
And she does. But then like, then she's an asshole and she's trying to harm people that have fucking nothing to do with it. So then you're like, what a bitch. Like you kind of go back and forth where you're like, she's a monster, but like a sad monster. I don't know. A misunderstood beast.
I just gotta say, this movie gave me everything I wanted from it. Like,
yeah.
I heard a lot of people complaining that it doesn't go far enough, but I think it gets
what?
pretty brutal.
What do they want?
I don't know.
Fucking
it's
weirdos.
A mainstream horror film. Like, it plays in multiplexes. It's not the perfection or something. It can't go straight to Netflix and do whatever it wants. It has to like play by the rules a little bit, but the performance is so good. And the violence does get really disturbing.
Yeah, towards the end, the shit she does is like on the level of that D. Snyder movie, Strangeland.
Oh, I never saw that. I'd probably like it.
Fucking crazy. Yeah. Where it's I didn't. It was unexpected. Like, ugh.
And there's a little on-screen peen in this movie, which you don't often see in these like mainstream horror films.
Like she's lifting it up.
Yeah. With the threat of cutting it off. She goes some really vicious places. And, I'm always really down for some creepy social media stalking.
Oh, yeah.
She gets a lot of good Snapchat posts in there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. This movie just gave me everything I wanted from the trailer. And, we were talking about from Godzilla like a few minutes ago, like how people just love to complain. Like, I don't know what more this movie could have done to please its audience.
Right. I can't say one fucking bad thing about Ma.
Yeah, I can't actually.
You know,
it's a great version of the kind of movie it is.
And I did like too how with her bullying, I think she was also like the only black girl in this group of people at her school. So it kind of plays on that a little bit, showing like how much of assholes people were.
Yeah, and the group of teens that she's traumatizing, there's one black kid in the friend group, and he is very comfortable like mentioning the racial dynamic,
right?
And every time he brings it up, she shuts down, and yeah, I think the movie does a good job of talking about it without really talking about it. Like, it's a sore subject for her that, like, really, like, hits a nerve, and you can see it in her face. Like, she doesn't even want to talk about the fact that she was the only black girl in her school, and that's what happened to her.
And then she, like, paints his face white, and she's like, "It's only room for one of us. Sorry."
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
Right.
In those moments, too, she does this thing that I think's, like, really effectively creepy, and she, like, zones out. Whenever she goes into, like, a dark place and is either, like, remembering her past or is, like, planning to get back at someone and kill them, she just sort of stops all muscle control in her face and just slacks off and stares into the mid-distance. And we don't know what she's thinking, but it's really fucking weird.
Let's talk about this before I fucking forget it, because I jumped out my seat, like, in fear. There's a scene where one of the kids that party at Ma's is walking outside, and Ma wears these, like, hot pink pants.
Oh, yeah.
And you can fucking see her lingering in the background, in the dark, in the woods. All you see are her neon pink pants, like, slightly
just
faded.
Barely,
and then she, like, you can see her moving, and
that's so
it's
good.
so good.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that this is a, like, really fun, gross, excessive Blumhouse horror film. Mm-hmm. You know, same people brought you, like, Unfriended and Get Out and some other, like, cult favorites we like from the last few years. Also, directed by the guy who did The Help somehow?
What?
How is that possible?
I didn't know that.
That is so weird. How did this director make something this compelling and fun and trashy? I don't get it.
It's been within him all along.
Yeah, I guess so.
This is like the true self of him coming out. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What if, like, Octavia Spencer is, like, his muse and he's, like, not finished with her yet? Like, we have more Ma's.
I can't think of a better vehicle for her, but I'm saying this as someone who loves, you know, excessive trashy horror films.
Yeah.
So maybe someone else has something else in mind, but I think she gets to do the full range here. Like, she is really fun when she's partying. She is really creepy when she spaces off and scrapbooks, and she's, like, pretty fucking sad and tragic whenever she wants to turn the waterworks. Yeah, I mean, she does evil things and she probably should be stopped, but I don't hate the character.
No, I love her.
And that's kind of part of the Psychobiddy thing too. You have to have a little sympathy for the woman because it's not really her fault she's that way, and we get an extensive reason like how she got there.
The loneliness and simplicity of an isolated farm to the sophisticated elegance of a country estate, ingeniously designed to shock and startle. Strait-Jacket mounts to a crescendo of electrifying suspense.
So the first episode you ever did as, like, an official co-host for this podcast was we watched both versions of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Right.
Because there's that, like, 90s made-for-TV remake.
I still think about the 90s one with the Redgrave sisters all the time.
It's so bizarre.
There should be love.
Love should be there.
Ooh, not being scared.
And there's pretty much no denying that is, like, the perfect Psychobiddy movie. You have Joan Crawford and Bette Davis,
who are, like, the queens of Psychobiddies,
and hate each other, and, like, their hatred, seeps through the screen.
Mwah.
And it's so deliciously campy and well made, and just, like, it's perfect.
It's great.
We couldn't pick those movies again. We've already talked about them, and they kind of own the genre. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about some, like, classic Psychobiddies to pair with Ma that were a little less seen. But these are still, like, the big ones, I think.
Yeah.
I picked Strait-Jacket. It was made 2 years after Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, in 1964. And it stars Joan Crawford as an axe-wielding maniac. And she's directed by William Castle, who does all those, like, really over-the-top...
The Tingler.
The Tingler, where he, like, put buzzers in the seats. And for the release of Strait-Jacket, he handed out cardboard axes to everybody who came to the premiere. John Waters is a big fan. It's, like, mostly how I know his work. Joan Crawford teams with this director. He shoots everything extremely well. There's this very stark black and white, like, harshly lit cinematography to the death scenes. Mm-hmm. So you see Joan Crawford over the bed of her boyfriend and his lover in bed, and she chops both of their heads off. And what you see is their silhouettes on the back wall and the heads falling off.
It's so funny, too, because it's the most silent death. It just sounds like wood being chopped.
Thud.
It's like, gloo, gloo. No one's screaming.
And after that first death, it's really fun and, like, beautiful to look at. And you're like, okay, well, I guess that's the kind of death we're going to see in this movie. We're going to see some like silhouettes of head falling off. No, later we get some like real ass like gore head chopping. And it's always with an axe. And Joan Crawford is like dialed to an 11 this entire movie. She's just screaming her head off. She gets like shock therapy in like a Strait-Jacket, the titular Strait-Jacket. And she goes to an asylum for 20 years for killing her husband or boyfriend and his girlfriend who she found in bed with him.
The beginning of this film is so great.
It's wild.
It starts off where it's like, extra, extra, read all about it. And it's like, axe-wielding murderess.
And then like swing music comes up.
And then it shows her, and I mean, she looks like she's fucking 60.
And she's billed as like 29 years old.
Right, and she's getting off a train, smiling, thinking she's the shit, walking down a country road, and then she catches her like husband with a lover. It's so good. It's so psychobiddy.
The narrator's like, she was very much a woman and very much aware of the fact. It's so great. And her young daughter witnesses the murder.
Just stares at it the whole time.
Stares in terror. And Joan Crawford comes back out of the asylum 20 years later and is terrified of everything. Like, she's fixated on any sharp objects that are around the house, like sculpture carving tools or like
crochet
meat
needles.
Yeah. And especially when she sees an axe in the chicken beheading coop.
She like... her eyes, I mean, she turns into Ma.
Yeah.
Where, like, her eyes get really big and she starts shaking.
She, like, walks past the chicken coops and she's like, I just hate to see anything caged. Like, everything about her is just, like, overly dramatic in every frame. And it's this really starkly lit movie. I don't know how much of the ending I want to give away. This movie's so old. But it ends in this really spectacular image.
It's so ridiculous. But it's like, I was screaming.
Oh,
like,
it's perfect.
Towards the end, where there's like the reveal of like, you know, I mean, we could say like people have been getting fucking decapitated.
Yeah.
Like left and right. And the whole time you're thinking it's got to be her. Everything points to her. Everything points to her. And there's this big like twist in the end.
Can I at least say that there are two Joan Crawfords who engage in an axe battle with each other?
Yeah, whatever. Like, that's the main selling point,
that
too.
That looks so cool.
It is so good. I was screaming the whole time, like, when that was happening.
I had never seen this movie before, and I fucking loved every minute of it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what list I picked this off of or whatever, but just so satisfying.
It's wonderful. It's so fucking good. I thought it was fucking hilarious. Like, it was scary, but so funny, where her daughter... What's her name again? It's like not Charlotte. What is her?
I don't remember. Sue.
Carol.
There you go.
Whatever. Such a 50s name. So Carol is engaged to this guy, and his parents are kind of uppity. They're wealthy. They're uppity.
They're snobs.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene where I think the mother's stressed out and the father's like, here, honey, drink a glass of cold milk to calm down. Because they don't drink. They're so straight-laced. It was... and they're like it looks like they're drinking milk out of wine glasses.
And then there's the scene where Joan Crawford like drinks way too much liquor and is like trying to fuck her daughter's boyfriend.
Awesome.
That's so good.
It's beautiful.
There is no scene in here where she's not dialed to 11. Like everything is either screaming or weeping or shaking with terror. Like everything is over the top.
That's so Joan Crawford. Like,
yeah.
In pretty much every movie I've seen her in, no matter how like high budget or low budget, she just like gives it fucking everything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she had to play like sultry back in like the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Like she used to play like a vixen, you know.
Yes.
But at this age, she for the rest of her career after Baby Jane, really, she only did these like really over the top roles.
Like Betty Davis,
like
too.
Betty Davis as well. Yeah,
it's kind of their story is similar. Something that I really liked that had nothing to do with the actual plot of the film was when the movie's over with, the Columbia statue at the
head
end
falls off.
It's beheaded.
Yes. And there's like nightmare sequences with severed heads, and there's a lot of head chopping in this movie. It's not going to give you the 80s like blood and gore, but there's like some practical effects of heads falling off bodies throughout.
Let's think about head chopping.
Okay.
There might be something going on with that. So that's the thing that happens in Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. Have you seen a lot of decapitation, like lovers' heads being chopped off in modern day films?
I can't think of many.
You think it just ended there?
I can't think of many. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte's a pretty good one. Was that a Psychobiddy movie?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
She's like a southern debutante that's like still haunting this like plantation house. This is a
Her
Betty Davis
plantation.
film, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, cut off his hand and head. In Hush, hush, sweet Charlotte, there are children that made this like nursery rhyme to talk about Charlotte and what she does, and the same shit here.
Oh,
where there's children that made up this nursery rhyme about Joan Crawford's character, about what she did, and her daughter had to deal with that at school. So there's some similarities in that too.
And that was the same director as Baby Jane, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, well, the other movie we talked about today was your pick.
We watched the other Psychobiddy Grand Dame, Miss Betty Davis, in 1965's The Nanny. Not the nanny named Fran. In this film, Betty Davis is this robotic, overbearing nanny to this family who are a fucking hot mess. Like, the father of this family, he's pretty like verbally abusive to his wife.
Business dick.
He sucks.
Yeah.
His wife is severely depressed because they lost their child. Like, they had a young daughter who has died, and we don't really find out until later how she died. And they have a son named Joey, and he's kind of a little shit. And he is away at a like home for bad boys.
Yeah, he's got the problem that Joan Crawford had in Strait-Jacket, where they sent him away to an asylum.
Yeah.
Presumably because he probably killed his little sister.
Right. So that's what they kind of lead you to believe. Like, they think he had something to do with her death. And he kind of has this morbid sense of humor too. And I think that's probably why they assumed like he has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's very like Harold and
Maude, like when Bud Cort like hangs himself. Like, this fucking little kid's doing that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of imagery of little kids' dead bodies in this film, which is really disturbing, especially for the mid-60s. It's not like implied, like you see little kids' dead bodies on the screen. It's really fucked up.
Right. It pushes it. Well, his name's Joey, or as he's called at home by Nanny, Master Joey. And they're all British.
He looks exactly like Haley Joel Osment.
I hope he didn't have that Haley Joel Osment disease where, like, no matter how old he gets, he looks like he's like
giant
10.
baby.
We'll have to look up this kid on Google later. Well, he is convinced that Nanny, and they refer to her as Nanny.
Right, because she was also the mother's nanny when she was a kid.
She's just been with this family forever. Yeah. Well, he's convinced that she's trying to kill him. So Joey, like, doesn't eat anything she cooks. He doesn't want to be alone with her. He makes her swear not to go in the bathroom when he's taking a bath. He, like, booby traps his room to make sure she can't get inside because he is convinced that she's the one who killed his little sister. And there's just this weird tension. So you're kind of asking yourself, like, is this little turd of a kid capable of murder, or is creepy fucking Nanny the one murdering? And what's her motive for doing this anyway? She's been with this family forever. Why would she all of a sudden kill like a toddler? And then there's just like some really good buildup. And
it all culminates in this like hideous flashback that shows you exactly what happened.
Right. Like, I know, I'm like trying to think, like, I want to talk about fucking all of it, but I don't want to give too much away.
We can.
Let's fucking talk about it.
Let's spoil it.
Yeah. So there's like, what's cool about this movie is that there's a bunch of awesome flashbacks that are very detailed, that really give you a good picture about everything going on. So this little girl, well, Nanny left all of a sudden. So she was watching Joey and the little girl, and it was just them by themselves in this like nice like uptown apartment. Well, she leaves, and she leaves the children alone, and the little girl grabs her doll and is pretending to give it a bath. Well, she falls in the bathtub while she's trying to get her doll out, and she hits her head. And then Nanny comes home, and she's kind of like drained. And she's like, it's time for your bath, kids. And she turns the water in the bathtub, not knowing the little girl's in it. So she kind of like drowns this little girl without knowing about it. And the reason that she's all fucked up is even more fucked up because what happened was Nanny gets a call about her own child that she's neglected so she could take care of this family that's like not even her family.
Yeah, it's just like a class issue there.
Right. So she goes to this like bad part of town and like walks up the stairs, and her daughter's dead because she got a botched back alley abortion.
It's fucking grim.
It's so grim. So she's like feeling like a piece of shit.
And the reason Joey's fucked up is because the nanny makes him bathe with his sister's dead body in the tub, which is super disturbing.
It's insane.
So, like, no one is right in this house.
No.
Like, the nanny is really detached from reality and obviously capable of doing very terrible stuff, but she has, like, a tragic enough backstory where you still feel for her.
Right. So that's where you get that sympathy from her. But then, like, she does a bunch of cool psychobiddy shit.
Yeah.
Like, so Joey's mother becomes ill. She gets like food poisoning or something, and she goes to the hospital. So her sister, who has like a bad heart condition, comes over to the house to stay with Joey and Nanny and everyone. Well, she wakes up to go get tea in the middle of the night, and when she turns on the light, Nanny's like creeping by Joey's door with a pillow.
Like she's gonna smother him?
To fucking smother him. And then she's like, "Oh, Master Joey wanted another pillow. I'm bringing him his pillow."
And she's like underlit to look mad. Like, you know those like when you put like a lamp on the floor to make someone look crazy because the lighting's coming from beneath them?
Oh, and her eyebrows are like extra like caterpillar.
Yeah.
Like they're
very
just
Baby Gene Hudson.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
But if Joan Crawford's at like an 11 throughout Strait-Jacket, Bette Davis is like actually acting this role like it's melodramatic, but it's pretty, you know, it's well performed. Like it's
totally.
She's doing it fully committed. And I believe like the opening credits are her just like walking around London, like buying a cake and like visiting a playground and feeding the pigeons. She looks like a giant pigeon herself, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. It's like a really like fully committed, dramatically performed movie. All the actors are pretty good in it, but just this really disturbing stuff happens over and over and over again.
Not that I wish that Joey would die, because I kind of started to like his character later. Like the dorkier he got, like she tries to drown him in the bathtub, and his thing is to go through the fire escape and visit his like 14-year-old girl neighbor that likes to smoke cigarettes in her bedroom.
Yeah, she pretends she's like a mod.
Right,
yeah.
Like pretends she's like super cool. So he's like out of his bathtub in a towel, like running up a fire escape to be like, she's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
She really is.
She's a liar. You should sack her.
Yeah. So he gets kind of charming and funny. But I really kind of wanted to see her poison him with his Master Joey steak and liver pie. She cuts out a J and is like neatly pressing it on top of the pie before she bakes it. And she's like, "I'm making Master Joey's favorite."
That's like her scrapbooking, you know?
Yes.
You kind of get the sense that like she's so detached from reality, she's not even really aware that she's doing this stuff. Like,
right.
She's just trying to make the house right and whole again.
She's just very robotic.
Yeah.
Like, she has like no feeling left.
It's like she's like sweeping this like awful mistake she made under the rug, and Joey's like one of the things she has to clean up. Like Joey knows what she did, so she kind of has to like fix everything so it's normal again.
Right.
One of the ways the family is broken is that the mother, she had the nanny when she was a kid, and she sort of retreats to being a little kid again.
Oh, it gets really weird.
It reminded me of that movie The Baby, which we love.
Oh, God.
That 70s movie.
Ooh.
But there's a scene where the nanny's like spoon feeding her like a child.
And like brushing her hair.
Oh, it's so disturbing.
Yes.
And I do like that this movie is disturbing in these like really deeply psychological ways, and it's like really sad. Mm-hmm. It's more complex than like Strait-Jacket, in which Joan Crawford's just an axe wielding maniac, and that's the whole movie.
It's pure like Strait-Jacket is pure glorious trash, where this kind of has like
it's still a little classy,
meaningful plot to it, kind of.
It might be because everyone's British, but you know, I'm willing.
British.
But you know, it's shot really well. Like it reminded me of the way Friedkin shoots plays. I know we just watched Boys in the Band recently. Like it's all in this pretty closed apartment set, but the camera moves and it takes these like high angles and it like really uses the space. It doesn't feel like a television play, you know, like there's like a cinematic quality to it, even though it's very contained.
Right.
And the acting is really good. That being said, I do think Strait-Jacket is my favorite movie we watched today.
Oh, hands down. And this is my first time seeing it too.
Yeah.
I love it. Like I rented it on Amazon so I can watch it in really good quality, and I'm going to buy it.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
I want to see it again already.
Just the imagery is so crisp and like stark, and I don't know.
And Joan Crawford's face is so like psychotic. Like her very like chiseled, sharp, like witchy features, and her like staring at the camera. Just when she shakes with those like her knitting needles. I can watch that forever.
And you just can't convey in audio form how great it is to see two Joan Crawfords axe battle each other.
No. Oh, God.
It's like the greatest cinematic image. I don't know. There's just something so perfect
Nothing
about
prepares you for it either.
Yeah.
I thought the whole time, I'm like, it's going to be, I thought the farmhand who reminded me a lot of Leroy from The Bad Seed.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I'm like, oh, this fucking crazy guy is wearing a woman's wig and is doing some psycho shit.
Yeah. I will say the Scooby-Doo reveal of how that went down is really great.
Mm-hmm. And it all makes sense, too.
Yeah. Would you say Ma is anywhere up to par with these two films, or... It's hard to say, 'cause it's on a different vibe.
I don't think it's on the same level.
Yeah.
But when you look at what Psychobiddies have been like in the past, like, 10 years, I would say it's on the top.
I will at least say I liked it more than Greta, and I liked Greta a lot. Like, I think Ma's a better film than Greta. So if people liked Greta okay, but wouldn't really want to watch it again, I'd say Ma gives you the goods a little more. Mm-hmm. But if these two movies do well enough that they can keep making more of them, I think I'm like on the hook anytime it happens.
Might have like a Psychobiddy revival.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that we got 3 movies this year at least that fit that category is like really exciting. Psycho Granny.
Oh, Psycho Granny, right. Well, fucking every Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
There's 2 there's Psycho Granny and there's another movie on Lifetime that plays as a double feature with Psycho Granny about another psychotic grandmother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any like favorites you have in the genre that we haven't mentioned yet today? I know we mentioned Shelley Winters and
Shelley Winters for sure.
Debbie Reynolds was in some. Any other Bette Davis ones even?
I mean, other than Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
I guess she kind of does it in that Disney movie.
Watcher in the Woods?
Yeah, she's a little creepy in that one.
A little bit.
It's not quite the same.
Psycho.
It's not really about her either. I guess that Shyamalan movie, The Visit, has some like old people going crazy stuff in it.
Right.
That one's kind of fun.
I'm in a Psychobiddy Facebook group where it's like people will that's how I found out about a lot of movies. Like there's a guy on that group where he kind of searches the web and he's like, oh, here's like a link to watch The 3 Women for free. And I mean, that is a Psychobiddy movie.
The Robert Altman one?
Yeah. Just like anytime you have like and it's the main character is kind of wacky. She's pretty young, but she fits the Psychobiddy mold other than her age.
Yeah, I guess in the 70s you had those like women breaking down because of the patriarchy kind of movies. Like,
I would count them as Psychobiddies.
Woman Under the Influence and Puzzle of the Downfall Child.
Yeah. That would be a Psychobiddy movie. And then Cold Day in the Park.
Yeah.
Bring that up again. Great movie. Psychobiddy.
Well, in these movies, though, you get that same like tragic mental unraveling, but you also get Joan Crawford with an axe chopping people's heads off. And
wonderful.
It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I don't know if Ma is necessarily an automatic classic in the canon, but it's a really fun entry into it.
It's such a good like Friday night movie to watch and like have a good time with.
It's a great movie with a crowd too. Even if people laugh at weird moments, like I don't know, there's some like genuine scares in there.
She like hits somebody with her truck and is like fucking cunt.
And then cranks the radio to dance to it on her way off in the same breath, pretty much. It's so good.
Great.
So yeah, if you're a little cautious about Ma, just go see it. It's really fun. And also, Strait-Jacket and The Nanny are both classics.
Absolutely.
They're really great. And we'll be back with another episode next week. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, so more on that to come.
Sounds fun.
And to go with last week's Overlook Roundup, I'm posting pretty much a review for every movie we talked about that episode. It's probably going to take me all month to get through them all.
I'm looking forward to In Fabric, for sure.
That one is going to take me a little longer than others because it's a hard
Understandable.
movie to talk about.
Yeah.
But it was my favorite thing we saw at the fest.
Sweet.
So it's definitely forthcoming.
Woo!
And you can check all that out at swampflix.com.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Suddenly I was terribly tired. I felt sick. I still couldn't believe it all. I thought perhaps I might wake up in a moment and find out it was a bad dream.